Hello and welcome to Series 4, Episode 4 of Saturday Morning Nostalgia. The year is 23 and we're focused on that last section of the year, last quarter. Although, as I said in the previous episode, I've carried over the Theros set to this episode simply because I wanted to sort of balance it out. So I've got one set release per quarter, or per episode, should I say. So this came out at the very end of September 27th. And then also in that final part of the year we had the Commander 2013 release, November the 1st, and the 2013 Holiday Gift Box, which also comes out in November the 15th. So starting out with that Theros release, September 27th, it's a large set, 249 cards, of which there were 101 commons, 60 uncommons, 53 rares, 15 mythic rares and 20 basic lands. The product came out in the regular boosters. There were 5 intro packs, of which I have none, but I did buy the one event deck they released, and also the bulk of these cards come from the fat pack that I bought. The themes and mechanics to watch out for as we're going through some of these cards is the fact that in the set Enchantment Matters, there were heroes, there were monsters, there were gods. There was also a Minotaur tribal, which obviously tied in with that, with the particular theme of the set. Keywords and abilities to watch out for: we had mono-coloured theme in here going on. We had heroic, bestow, devotion and scry. And cycles to watch out for: there was a cycle of gods, a cycle of god weapons, a cycle of rare gold cards, a cycle of emissaries, cycle of so-called gainsay cards, cycle of double tactics or deals, uncommon gold cards, cantrip auras. You can see there's a lot of cycles in here, nymphs, cycle of enemy coloured commons and cycle of allied coloured commons. And also going back to the scry, there was a cycle of non-basic scry lands at rare. A mirrored pair in the set, the Eidolon, so Baleful Eidolon and Hopeful Eidolon. So let's have a look at what I pulled in terms of rares and premium cards. But before we do that, I'm going to just flick through the player's guide here. So laid out in the standard format that we're pretty much used to now. So a bit of a background about the world and the world development. I said there was a cycle of gods, so not surprisingly we have some background story about the various gods in the various colours. Then there's a planeswalker profile, so looking at the planeswalker in the set: Elspeth, Ashiok, Xenagos, 10 coolest Theros cards, so those 10 are Elspeth, Sun's Champion, Erebos, God of the Dead, Stormbreath Dragon, Xenagos the Reveler, Prophet of Crufix, Temple of Deceit, Flanks Leader, Boon Satyr, Hammer of Porphyros and Dissolve. So something they've done occasionally in these players' guide is put in alternate ways of playing Magic. So we've got something called Wizard's Tower, which is a Magic variant for 2 to 5 players. And then we move on to the card encyclopedia. And we'll be interested to see here, as we get towards the back of this, you can see here's the god weapons. which were legendary. Just going to see so we get some idea. So there was there were a number of multicolored cards in here, and as you can see, they're all basically two colour. And then we've got some artifacts and our cycle of temples. So those were our scry lands that come into play tapped. Also 4 different types of artwork for the different types of mana. Okay, so going back to the binder with the rares and the premium cards in it, you can see up here we've got a Heliod, God of the Sun, legendary enchantment, creature god. It's a mythic, has indestructible as long as your devotion to white is less than 5. Heliod isn't a creature. Each white in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to white. Other creatures you control have vigilance, and 2 and 2 white put a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token onto the battlefield. Also pulled a 100-handed one, so 2 and 2 white with vigilance and monstrosity on it. So in this case, on this card, we've got 3 and 3 white is our monstrosity cost, and it gives us monstrosity 3. If this creature isn't monstrous, put 3/1/1 counters on it, and it becomes monstrous. As long as 100-handed one is monstrous, it has reach and can block an additional 99 creatures each combat. And it's a 3/5. So you'll notice that with cards that have monstrosity on it. So the fact that they're monstrous, well, firstly when they become monstrous, there's counters go on them, and then that fact that they're monstrous then triggers an extra ability. Meletis Charlatan, creature human wizard, 2 and a blue, tap. The controller of target instant or sorcery spell copies it. That player may choose new targets for the copy. That's a 2/3. Got Swan Song here, single blue, instant. Counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell. Its controller puts a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Aberrant Overlord, 5 and 2 black, 6/6 with flying. When I can't even say it this morning. Abhorrent, I think it is. Abhorrent Overlord enters the battlefield. Put a number of 1/1 black harpy creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, equal to your devotion to black. Each black in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to black. Beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. 6/6. Then we've got Erebus, God of the Dead. Another card with devotion on it. So you can see that all the gods had devotion. Here we have a foil Gary, so Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Another mythic here. Ithonia the Cruel, legendary creature Gorgon, 4/6 for 4 and 2 black with Death Touch, and 6 and 2 black gives it monstrosity 3. When Ithonia the Cruel becomes monstrous, destroy all non-Gorgon creatures. Got a foil March of the Returned. We've got a Night Howler, 1 and 2 black. This has got Bestow on it, so Bestow, 2 and 2 black. If you cast this spell for its Bestow cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. Night Howler and enchanted creature each get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So you can see we've got this new idea of enchantment creatures. So you can either cast this regularly, or by casting it for its Bestow cost, you can enchant a creature. Ember Swallower has monstrosity 3 on it. Labyrinth Champion has Heroic, so with Heroic, whenever you cast a spell that targets Labyrinth Champion deals 2 damage to target creature or player. You can see I managed to get quite a few gods here. So we've got a third god, Porphyros, God of the Forge. This is the red one. And the corresponding devotion to red. Stormbreath Dragon, another mythic. 3 and 2 red creature dragon, flying haste, protection from white. 5 and 2 red gives it monstrosity 3. And it's monstrous trigger. It deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. Got Titan of Eternal Fire. Cares about humans. Another legendary creature here. Anthusa Setian Hero. 3 and 2 green. For 4/5 legendary creature, human warrior with heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Anthusa Setian's hero, up to 3 target lands you control, each become 2/2 warrior creatures until end of turn. They're still lands. Got a nice foil artisan sorrow. Again, you can see the foiling on that. Brings up the that sort of cup really nice. See, that's got scry on it. So with the scry, just so we're clear on this particular one has scry 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them on the bottom of your library and the rest on top in any order. And then another foil we had here was Karametra's Acolyte, which I'm trying to remember, that might have come as part of the holiday gift box. Maybe that was the free card in the holiday gift box. Also, I actually pulled a Plukranos, which was the lead card in the Heroes vs Monsters dual decks. So that's the 2 and 2 green 5/5 legendary creature Hydra with XX green monstrosity X, so you get to put X11 counters on there. And when it becomes monstrous, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures your opponents control. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Plukranos. Got a foil rare Sylvan Carotid, I think that is. 1 and a green 0/3 creature plant with defender and hexproof. Tap and 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Polish Crusher, the rare, with 4 and a 2 colour monstrosity in red and green there for monstrosity 3. Psychic Intrusion was another card that I pulled. And then moving on to a rare artifact here, a Crowan Horse, which has defender on it. And then I've got a couple of well, actually the same temples here, but there's a foil one and a regular one. Let me just see if I can, I don't know how clearly you can see, there's a interesting foiling going on where you have this, it's not really a watermark, but underneath here, I don't know if you can see the rocks there, and they're actually, the tops of them are actually foiled. I don't know how clearly that's coming out on camera. So with this, Temple of Deceit enters the battlefield tapped. When Temple of Deceit enters the battlefield, scry 1. Look at the top card of your library. You put that card on the bottom of your library and tap add to add blue or black. So they come into battlefield tap, but they scry and they tap for appropriate 2 colours. There was a cycle of 5 of those. And the other thing I obtained, there was a theme in the set to do with the hero's path. Now I didn't take part in the pre-release. I think this was part of, but I did obtain this at some point. I can't remember where I got it from. I think there were just loads of these lying around. And then some of the Heroes Path cards. So that was part, I believe, of a theme at the pre-release. There's also a deck, which I'll show you in a moment, which again ties in with a certain theme to do with a path, basically, which I think is in here. Oh, here we go. We have something called a Challenger deck. I don't know if anybody's seen this. So they had something, this particular one is called Face the Hydra. Just zoom into that. So the idea with this is sort of played against this. This box contains 60 challenge cards and an instructional playmat. To play against this challenge deck, each player must have a Magic the Gathering deck. So I don't know if anybody's come across this idea before in Magic, but there's several formats where it's where you get a lot of Magic players together and they play against a deck which is just you just basically turn cards over on each turn and then you have to deal with it. So obviously this deck is not shuffled up, but this was a deck that was used for the promotion of the set. So you can see, I think these are all just sorceries. And then there's these heads of the Hydra tokens, which basically go on the playmat. So there's instructions. There's this instruction booklet also folds out as a playmat, and you basically use that to lay out your heads of the Hydra. But that was an interesting twist. Like I said, there's I think they're called Horde decks. I'm trying to remember if I've got that right. Which people sort of build, and it's like an automatic deck where creatures come out on certain turns and you have to deal with it. So this is a sort of variant on that, really. Okay. Let's look at some of the lower rarity cards, again just to give us an overview of the set. So, commons and uncommons. Battle-wise Valor, Cavalry Pegasus, make sure we're on camera here, chosen by Heliod, so this is an enchantment, Aura. Dauntless Onslaught, it's a pump spell. Decorated Griffin, Farah's Warden, we've got Tap Down, Evangel of Heliod, Favoured Hoplite, God's Willing, Heliod's Emissary, and this is that mirror pair I mentioned, Hopeful Eidolon, Laguna Band Elder. So you can see that a lot of the creatures are very much themed around the theme of the set. Leonin Snarecaster. I think I said there was a Cyclone Nymphs. You can see another card with the heroic ability there. Now a card here which is in white but it has a black activation cost. There's some Citizen Battle Priests. Another card, same principle, it's a white card with a green activation cost. A few travelling philosophers there. Vanquish the Foul. That's something you see again as watching out for recurring themes over multiple sets. these cards in white, which basically deal with high power creatures, and obviously in a set where you could, because of the theme, potentially have very large creatures. It's a good card to have in here. Quite high cost there, 5 and a white. It's an uncommon. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, and then you get to scry for 1. Wingsteed Rider with flying and heroic, and Yoked Ox. It's a vanilla 0-4 for a single white. There's a counter spell in here. Single blue counter target artifact or enchantment spell. With not surprising to see in an enchantment themed set. Aqueous Form. Creates unblockable creature. Benelith Giant with hexproof on it. Breaching Hippocamp. It's a horse fish. Got a Chimera here, Coastline Chimera. It's a blue card with a white activation cost. Crackling Triton, blue card with a red activation cost. Fate Foretold. There's Gainsay. It's, 1 and a blue counter target blue spell. Griptide. Bounce spell. Horizon Scholar, Sphinx. With Scry 2 on it. Lost in a Labyrinth. You can see a lot of these cards again. You have a regular ability you might see in blue, and then they've got the scry stapled onto that. Mnemonic Wall was in here. Omen Speaker. Prescient Chimera. Sealock Monster with monstrosity on it. Sea God's Revenge. Stymied Hopes. It's a conditional counterspell with scry. Thassa's Bounty card draw at sorcery speed. And also mill, so you get to draw 3 cards, and then a target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Triton Fortune Hunter with heroic on it. So with heroic, something happens basically when the particular card this creature gets targeted. So whenever you cast a spell that targets Triton Fortune Hunter, draw a card. Triton's Shore Thief. Single blue 1/2 vanilla Merfolk Rogue. Triton Tactics. Nimbus Knight, another nymph. This is our nymph in blue with bestow 4 and a blue. It's enchantment creature. 2 and a blue for 2/2 with flying. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. Vaporkin. So 1 and a blue 2/1 creature elemental with flying. Can block only creatures with flying. Voyage's End. It's a bounce spell with scry on it. Wave Crash Triton. Another Merfolk. So the other thing with this, you'll often see popular tribes in certain colours will be in sets regardless of the theme. I don't know, maybe Merfolk were a thing in ancient Greece. Asphodel Wanderer. Baleful Edion. So this Eidolon. So this is the mirror pair for the one in white. Boon of Erebos. Cutthroat Maneuver. Up to 2 target creatures each gets +1/+1 and gain lifelink until end of turn. Dark Betrayal. Destroy target black creature. Disciple of Phoenix. Devotion. Fellhide Minotaur, Fleshmad Steed. Oh, there's got a few Garys here. 3 and 2 black. When Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Lash of the Whip. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Instant speed for 4 and a black. Loathsome. What the hell's that? Catoblepass. Creature beast, so another card with black casting cost and a green activation cost. March of the Returned. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Mogi's Marauder. So you can see, yeah, quite a lot of these cards have a namesake. We've got Ordeal of Erebos, Faraka's Curse, Read the Bones. Interesting cards. So 2 and a black, you get to scry 2, but then you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. So in black, a lot of card draw is tied in with something like, you know, losing life. Rescue from the Underworld, Return Centaur, Return Phalanx, returning stuff, Scourge Mark, Sip of Hemlock. 4 and 2 black, so pretty high cost here. Destroy target creature, its controller loses 2 life. Tormented Hero, single black. Tormented Hero enters the battlefield tapped. It's a 2/1 heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Tormented Hero, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Viper's Kiss. That heroic was a very interesting ability. I don't know how many. It'd be interesting to see how people got on with that. It's not something I really played around with. I know I drafted this cell 9. A Crowing Crusader, Arena Athlete. I've got a few cards here with heroic on it. There's a Minotaur, a vanilla 4/3 for 2 and 2 red. Boulderfall. Boulderfall deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players for 6 and 2 red. At instant speed. Coordinated Assault. Deathbellow Raider. Red to cast, black to activate. Demolish. 2 and a red, destroy target artifact or land. Dragon Mantle. Fanatic of Mogis. Flamespeaker Adept. Ill-Tempered Cyclops with Monstrosity 3 on it. Lightning Strike, so 1 and a red, instant. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So slightly higher casting cost of Bolt. Magma Jet, 1 and a red, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. But scry for 2 as well, bolted on there. Minotaur Skull Cleaver. Peak Eruption. So we have Land Destruction of Mountains. Priest of Iris. The other thing in here is interesting, like, what do you call it, like self-hate. So what we're seeing here, now there was a card in blue, I think earlier I did, which I think it was a blue spell that hated other blue spells. Same with this Peak Eruption, so you've got a red spell that targets, specifically destroys mountains. Priest of Iris, red with a white activation cost. Rage of Porphyros. Sorcery speed damage, 4 damage, can't be regenerated, has scry on it for 4 and a red. Satyr Rambler, Trample, Spark Bolt. So got a single damage spell here. So you can see there's quite a wide range of different degrees of damage spells in red in this particular set. So this is a single red, deals 1 damage and has got Scry bolted onto it as well. Stone Shock Giant, Titan Strength. You can see a real big Scry theme. 2-headed Cerberus with double strike. 1 and 2 for casting 1 and 2 red. And Wild Celebrants. I think I mentioned that there was which double strike was a thing in the set. I can't remember what I called it now. Like double tactics type of thing. Like a doubling up theme, I suppose. It's a way of thinking of it. Agent of Horizons. Green to cast, blue to activate. Artisan Sorrow, we saw that before. Centaur Battlemaster. Commune with the Gods. Defend the Hearth. Fade to Antiquity, way of dealing with artifacts or enchantments by exiling them for 2 and a green. Sorcery Speed. Feral Invocation. A couple of those. Karametra's Acolyte. 3 and a green, 1/4 creature human druid. Add an amount of green to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. Leaf Crown Dryad. Bestow of 3 and a green on it. The other thing, you notice the enchantment creatures, I don't know if I highlighted this, the borders slightly, they've got this like sort of sparkly border around them just to make it stand out. Nemesis of Mortals. Wow, Monstrosity 5 for 7 and 2 green. Nessium Corsair. So vanilla green creature for 2 and a green, you get a 3/3. So 3/3 for 3. Nylea's Emissary, another enchantment creature. Again, this sparkly border. Nylea's Presence, Ordealer of Nylea. Ferris Band Centaurs, another vanilla. So that's a 3/7 for 4 and a green. Satyr Hedonist. Satyr Piper, Savage Surge, Sedge Scorpion, 1/1 for 1 with Death Touch, Shredding Winds. Yeah, green's always good for dealing with flying creatures. In this case, 2 and a green, gets instant speed and deals 7 damage to target creature with flying. Staunch Hearted Warrior. Time to Feed. Voyaging Satyr, Vulpine Goliath. I don't see many 6/5 foxes, 4 and 2 green with trample on it. Warrior's Lesson. So that's all the coloured cards. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh yep, I did pull a few of the multicoloured cards which were at uncommon. So we've got Battlewise Hoplite, so there's the white blue one, creature human soldier with heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Battlewise Hoplite, put a +1/+1 counter on it on Battlewise Hoplite, then scry for 1. Destructive Revelry, red and a green, instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Destructive Revelry deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Oops, bring that down a bit. Sentry of the Underworld, 3 white black, creature Griffin Skeleton with flying and vigilance, white black, play 3 life, regenerate Sentry of the Underworld. And then Shipwreck Singer, blue black, creature siren, flying, 1/2, 1 and a blue, target creature an opponent controls attacks this turn if able. 1 and a black, tap, attacking creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. And moving on to our artifacts, so we've got a Anvil Wrought Raptor, flying first strike 2/1 for 4, Flamecast Wheel, oops, careful of that. Fleet Feather Sandals, equipment with flying, gives you flying and haste, and equip for 2, cast for 2. Guardians of Miletus, 3 for a 0/6 with Defender. Applying Unicorn. So 3 to cast, it's a 1/2, and tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So Mana Rock bolted onto a creature. Prowler's Helm. Equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls. That's 2 with equip for 2. And Traveller's Amulet. It's 1 to cast, 1 to activate, sacrifice Traveller's Amulet, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. You see this a lot in sets where you've got a fix for colour at common, these sort of, you know, low casting cost artifact, where you then sack it and it allows you to search out a basic land. Traveller's Amulet, wasn't that in the... I'm trying to think of the pre-release that I played at, which that was in. I think that was in... That was, I don't know if that was in Dark Ascension or whether it was in the previous set. I remember seeing something like that. Okay, there we have the bulk cards. I don't know much how everybody likes bulk. So let's have a look at the one pre-constructed deck that I did buy. Just get these out. So they didn't really alter the design of these. Because I've never had one of these on camera. This is the box they come in. You get a spin down counter. You get instructions on how to play the deck. This was a white blue inspiring heroics deck. 60 card deck, 15 card sideboard. Let's have a look at the sideboard. Here's Triton Tactics. Single blue, up to 2 target creatures. Each gets +0/+3 until end of turn. Untap those creatures at the end turns. Next end of combat, tap each creature that was blocked by one of those creatures this turn, and it doesn't untap during the controller's next untap step. Remember I mentioned there's like a cycle of double, what do I call them? Yeah, double tactics. Glare of Heresy. Exiles white permanent. Gainsay. Counters a target blue spell. Negate targets non-creature spells. Arrest enchants creatures and make sure they can't block, attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. Solemn Suffering, we've got life gain as stapled onto destroying artifacts or enchantments. And Gift of Orzova gives an enchanted creature +1/+1 and flying and lifelink. A couple of those. Okay, so going through the rarities. So this particular event deck, we've got Soldier of the Pantheon, human creature, human soldier, protection from multicolored. Whenever an opponent casts a multicolored spell, you gain 1 life. It's 2/1. Opposing Sovereign. A couple of those. 1 and a white creature human, 2/1. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Precinct Captain, 2 white, 2/2, first strike. Whenever Precinct Captain deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. It's a creature human soldier. Frontline Medic, 2 and a white for 3/3, creature human cleric with battalion. Whenever Frontline Medic and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control are indestructible this turn. Sacrifice Frontline Medic. Counter target spell with X in its mana cost unless its controller plays X. 2 and a white for 3/3. Fabled Hero. 2 and 2 whites 2/2 with double strike heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets fabled hero, put a 1/1 counter on fabled hero. Lavinia of the 10th was in here. 3 white blue for 4/4 legendary creature human soldier, protection from red. When Lavinia of the 10th enters the battlefield, detain each non-land permanent your opponent controls with converted mana cost 4 or less. This was also in an intro pack or intro deck from the previous set, and you got a couple of detention spheres in here. 1 white blue enchantment. When detention sphere enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent not named detention sphere and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent. When detention sphere leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under their owner's control. A couple of those. Got a hallowed fountain in here. Add white blue to your mana pool. As hallowed fountain enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, hallowed fountain enters the battlefield tapped. So we've got Shockland from the previous block. And then moving on to our non-rares. Dryad Militant, 3 of those. Battlewise Hoplite, which we saw a moment ago, 3 of those. New Prov Guild Mage. Got a couple of Banisher Priests. 3 Leaf Sky Knights. A Skymark Rock. Ascended Law Mage. This looks like a white-blue Flyers deck. Ordeal of Heliod. Ordeal of Thassa. So we've got a couple of the Thassas in here. Dauntless Onslaught, a couple of those. Hopeful Eidolon. Oh, 3 of those. There's Pacifism in here from the core set, a couple of those. God's Willing, a couple of those. Then we've got the on-colour gates from the previous block. So we had 4 Azorius Guild gates and then our basics in blue and white. So there we have that deck. That was the event deck for this particular set. Eventually they got rid of event decks. I think they just weren't selling very well. I don't know if they really fulfilled their role as a gateway deck for FNM. Let me know if anybody played them at FNMs and how they got on with them. I think over time they, to my eyes at least, and maybe there was the odd one here or there, but they seem to get steadily worse as time went on. So, my favourite thing next, Commander product. Okay, so Commander 2013, so this was the second paper product, this is the second of the Commander deck paper products. There was another Commander product that came out, Commander theme product, that wasn't decks. Okay, so, well actually one thing before I forget, I didn't mention that the 5 intro packs from Theros, Favours from Nyx, which was white-blue, Manipulative Monstrosities, which is blue-red, Devotion to Darkness, which was a blue-black, Blazing Beast of Myth, red-green, and Athusa's Army, which was white-green. So going back to the Commander product. Quick overview. So we had 5 decks. They were tri-coloured shard decks. There were 15 new cards in each deck. But because of the way those were distributed, there were 51 cards in total across the whole, all of the decks. Because what they tend to do is some of those cards turn up in multiple decks. So instead of getting 5 times 15 worth of cards, you're going to get less than that, in this case 51. There was interaction with the command zone, specifically on some of the cards. There was also an ability called Tempting Offer, which we'll no doubt see. The cycles in the deck, so those are the cards that appear multiple times across the decks. So in terms of the commanders, what they do with these decks is you have 3 commanders. So at this point in time you had the lead commander, you had an alternate commander, and then you had a reprinted commander from earlier in Magic's history. There were a cycle of tempting offers, cycle of curses, panoramas were in the set, so they had the relevant on-colour ones for the decks. They had on-colour shard lands. They had cycling lands in here, and they also used guild gates as a way of fixing. The 5 decks were Evasive Maneuvers, which was a white, blue, green. Eternal Bargain, which was white, blue, black. Mind Seize, which was blue, black, red. Power Hungry, black, red, green. Nature of the Beast, white, red, green. I'm not going to go through these necessarily in that order, just the order in which I have them stored. And this is rather fiddly, you can't see this. Sort of made the mistake of storing them side by side in a large box, and whoops, haha, it's not so smart. Sorry, they just slipped out. It's going to be easier once I get the first one out. Right, these have all been sleeved up because these have been played at some point. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single card because there's a lot of cards to go through, but we will focus in on obviously the commanders, and then I will sort of slow roll the rares so you can just see them. Right, so lead commander in this deck. So this is the blue, black, red deck. So often people refer to these, by the commander. So this was the Jaliva deck, Jaliva Nephilia's Scourge. 1 blue, black, red for a 1/3 legendary creature vampire wizard with flying. When Jaliva Nephilia's Scourge enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top X cards of his or her library, when X is the amount of mana spent to cast Jaliva. When Jaliva attacks, you may cast an instant or sorcery card exiled with it without paying its mana cost. Okay. Our alternate, got this in the right order, is Nekusar the Mind Razor, 2 blue, black, red for a 2/4 legendary creature, zombie wizard. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Nekusar the Mind Razor deals 1 damage to that player. And our old school commander, or our reprint, is Thraxemunda. 4 blue, black, red, 6/6 legendary creature, zombie assassin with haste. Whenever Thraxemunda attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature. Whenever a player sacrifices a creature, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Thraxemunda. And then our rares in this deck, we've got Echo Mage, which has level up. Jace's Archivist. Oh yes, this was the deck with True Name Nemesis on it. This was what caused a big buyout of these decks. So 1 and 2 blue for 3/1. Creature Merfolk Rogue. As True Name Nemesis enters the battlefield, choose a player. True Name Nemesis has protection from the chosen player. Charmbreaker Devils. Uyo's Silent Prophet. Baleful Force. Temple Bell. Eye of Doom, Mirari, Spiteful Visions, Arcane Melee, Price of Knowledge. Players have no maximum hand size. Sudden Spoiling, split second on it. Illusionist Gambit, Wild Ricochet, Starstorm. Here's our tempt cards. So tempt with reflections, 3 and a blue, sorcery, tempting offer, choose target creature you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. Each opponent may put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. For each opponent who does, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. Incendiary Command, Decree of Pain, Army of the Damned. Baleful Strix is in here. So now we're moving on to our lower rarity card. Oh, actually, that's where I must have gone wrong. It fell apart. Sorry. There's one more rare. Molten Disaster, which has got kicker on it. Baleful Strix, Augur of Bolus. Oops. Yeah, I think I went a bit wonky here. Fog Bank. Another rare Cruel Ultimatum, 2 blue, 3 black, 2 red. Yeah, I did have these in a bit of an order which went wrong when I just spilt them everywhere. Nivik Skilled Mage. So now we're moving on to our commons. Just flick through these quickly. Oh, there's Soul Ring, that was in every deck. Oh, there's our curses, you can see. Curse of Shallow Graves, Curse of Chaos. Charm was in here, Croesus Charm, Grixis Charm. Dismiss, Annihilate. So you can get a rough idea of the overall feel of the deck. So here's our Mana Rocks. There's our obelisks and our charge lands, so our vivids. You're going to probably see some of these, like where's it gone? Yeah, the Temple of the False Gods. That'll probably turn up in quite a few decks, I suspect. Crumbling Necropolis, Refuge, Raptor Spire, Rakdos Guild Gates. Opal Palace, there's the Guild Gates, the Boiler Works. So yeah, things like that, the Boiler Works, the Guild Gates, Panoramas, Evolving Wilds, Guild Gates, Command Tower. We've got the Bajuka Bog. Where did they come from? So that was from Zendikar block, one of the sets from that block. And then our mana base, or our basic lands there. Very slippery. Okay. Should be easier now. Right. Oh, Derevi. Some spare sleeves. Right. Let's get this on camera. So our green, white, blue deck with Derevi Imperial Tactician, 2/3 legendary creature bird wizard with flying. Whenever Derevi Imperial Tactician enters the battlefield or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap target permanent. 1 green, white, blue, put Derevi onto the battlefield from the command zone. So obviously interesting ability. You can cast Derevi without incurring command attacks. Rune of the Hidden Realm was the alternate commander. 3 green, white, blue, 4/4 legendary creature Rhino Wizard. Vigilance Trample. 2 tap, exile another target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next end step. And our old school commander, Rubinia Soulsinger. 2 green, white, blue, 2/3 legendary creature fairy. You may choose not to untap Rubinia Soulsinger during your untap step. Tap, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Rubinia, and Rubinia remains untapped. I believe this was also the lead card on the Magic the Gathering Online only Commander release, which actually came out before any of these paper Commander products. Oh, so another level up card. just going through our rares here. Luzon is in here. Karmic Guide. Fiend Liege. Unexpectedly absent of that card. Blue Sun Zenith. Tempt with Glory. Qatar's Wrath. Oh, it's a Stonecloaker. Deceiver Exarch. These are always ones to watch out for in the product. I'll just stop here. There's a cycle of these. I'm not sure if these were in all the decks. So in the case of Wonder, I think there's one called Anger, which is a red one. So these are, so this one, 3 in a blue, 2/2 flying, creature incarnation. So you think, well, what's the big deal about that? But is this other ability. As long as Wonder is in your graveyard, and as long as you control an island, creatures you control have flying. Airy Mystics. Oh, there's an acidic slime in here. There's our Soul Ring, our Swiftwood Boots. Got a Key Rune in here. Basalt Monolith. I noticed with this particular group of decks, what they tried to do is not repeat some of the mana rocks. There weren't necessarily cycles of every mana rock, and I thought that was actually quite nice because it gives you quite a variety of stuff. There's some curses. Got Control Magic in here. Charm, Crows and Grip, Restore, Washout, Pilgrim's Eye, Farhaven Elf, Thornwind Fairies, Wind Cottle, it's a Signet in green white one, another one, Presence of God. Another temple. Relevant Guildgate, Relevant Panorama, Commander Tower, Rolving Wilds, Opal Palace, Rupture Spire. You can see a pattern emerging now. There's our one colour cycle land. Sanctuaries, Guild Gates, Terramorphic Expanse, Triangle's Promenade, and our basic land mana base. So as we flick through these, you sort of start to notice, what cards are repeated, what lands maybe there's not cycles for. So it makes it more sort of interesting, I think, as a product as a whole when you have stuff like that, which is like spread out over the decks. So this is our white, blue, black deck, our all-a-row ageless aesthetic. 3 white, blue, black, 4/5 legendary creature giant soldier. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card, and each opponent loses 1 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if all-a-row ageless aesthetic is in the command zone, you gain 2 life. Sidri Galvanic Genius is our alternate commander. White, blue, black for a 2/2 legendary creature human artificer. Blue, target creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to its converted mana cost until end of turn. White, black, target artifact creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. And our old school commander, Sharoom the Hegemon, 3 white, blue, black, legendary creature Sphinx, so it's artifact, sorry, legendary artifact creature Sphinx, 5/5 with flying. Whenever Sharoom the Hegemon enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Seer's Avatar is in here. Sphinx of the Steel Wind, Serene Master, Augury Adept, Wall of Reverence, Kongming Sleeping Dragon. I'm noticing a pattern here as well with the like a monocolour legendary in all the decks so far. I don't know if you've spotted that as well. Oh, there's a Divinity of the Pride. I always like to see these particular cycles of creatures in the Commander product. Sharding Sphinx, Mere Battlesphere, sometimes it's just nice to flick through these without saying anything. Act of Authority here. It's Greed and Sanguine Bond. Toxic Deluge. Ordric Succession. Oh, here's our other tempting offer. So here's the one in black. You can see same basic format to this. So it does something, and then each opponent may do the same thing, and then for each player that does, you get to do it again. Johnny's Pride Mate. So now we move on to our lower rarities. Oh, there's our Soul Ring. Soul Ring in every deck. Sun Droplet, Swiftfoot Boots, Thopter Foundry, it's in Reclamation, Art Curses, there's another Charm. I've got some of these in the original artwork actually. Oh, there's Tide Hollow Strix, Spell Bomb, oh, our Obelisks, Talisman, Temple. So yeah, as we're getting onto our third deck, it's really easy now to start to see the sort of non-basic land patterns that are going on, those ones that are cycled and those ones that are just one-off. That sort of then make you go down and, well, for me anyway, make you feel like, oh, I better go and track down that particular cycle because it's not across all decks. And then our basic land base. Okay, that's our third deck. Moving on. There was a theme I did with the sleeves on this. Basically, the colours I chose for the sleeves are nothing more than the middle mana colour, just so I could identify the decks easier. Good old Prosh. Prosh Sky Raider of Kerr. 3 black, red, green, 5/5 legendary creature dragon, flying. When you cast Prosh Sky Raider of Kerr, put X01 red kobold creature token's name, Kobolds of Kerr, keep onto the battlefield where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prosh. Sacrifice another creature. Prosh gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Cool. Shattergang Brothers, 3 black, red, green, 3/3 legendary creature Goblin Artificer, 3 and a black, sacrifice a creature, each other player sacrifices a creature, 2 and a red, sacrifice an artifact, each other player sacrifices an artifact, 2 and a green, sacrifice an enchantment, each other player sacrifices an enchantment. And then our reprint, Sekar Deathkeeper, 2 black, red, green, legendary creature Orc Shaman. Actually, I'm going to do a teaser in a moment. Yeah, legendary creature Orc Shaman. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a 3/1 black and red Graveborn creature token with haste onto the battlefield. So, question here, does anybody remember what set this came from? So, something I've got coming up in, well, next few weeks maybe, once we've done with Magic 25, is this. I'm going to unbox Beyond the Grave, a theme deck I picked up, and one of the cards in here is indeed the original of Sekar Deathkeeper. So that was in the Cold Snap set. There's quite a few interesting legendaries in that set actually. Pretty quirky stuff. Ah, we have a Titan. We didn't have a cycle of Titans in this particular product, but there is a Titan in this deck. Goblin Sharpshooter, Uphiomancer, Stronghold Assassin, our 2 Honoured Physician. So here's another one of our mono-coloured legendary creatures that we seem to be getting in each of the decks. Endless Cockroaches, Brooding Saurian. Oh, another mono-card legendary creature. Capricious Ifrit. Jar of Eyeballs was in here, as was Spine of Ishar. Oh, tempting offer here for red. So it's tempting us with tokens. And then our lower rarity cards. Oh, another Guild Mage. Some Thrynaxes. And there's a Deep Fire Elemental. Our Soul Ring. So we're starting to recognise some of our artefacts that are being duplicated up here. Our Curses. Charms. There's a Restore. Because any of the green decks are obviously going to benefit from ramp. Viscera Seer. Elvis Sky Sweeper. Oh, another Armory Sphere. Our Obelisk. There's the Kerr Keep. Waters. Oh. Our Vivid. Palace, Guild Gates, Rupture Spire. So you can see here. Oh, there's another corresponding one for in green for Paducah Bog. So this is Killarney Garden, Panorama, Terramorphic, and our basics. So moving on to our last deck. Marith, Will of the Wild. Red, green, white. Legendary creature, elemental beast. Marith, Will of the Wild enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. X, remove X +1/+1 counters from Marith. Choose one. Put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. Or Marith deals X damage to target creature or player. Or put an XX green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Alternate commander is Kaji, Honoured One. 2 red, green, white, legendary creature beast. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents or a planeswalker an opponent controls, that creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And our old school commander is Mael the Anima. Red, green, white, legendary creature, elf shaman. 3 red, green, white. Tap, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with power 5 or greater from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Rampaging Balos is in this deck, as is Avenger of Zendikar. Ravenous Balos. See a lot of large creatures here. Spellbreaker Behemoth. Crater Helion. Mages of the Arena. Eternal Dragons in here. Nea Soul Beast. This is Druidic Satchel. We have a Tower of Fortunes as well. And Where Ancients Tread. So here's our tempting offer for green. So we've got a tempting offer of a library search. Not surprisingly for land. The Wrath of God in here. Cruising War Chief. Lots of very large creatures. Oh, an Archangel. Oh, Soul Ring, Swiftfoot Boots, Behemoth Sledge. Lots of classics here. Curses. War Cadences in here. Curse. Fires of Yavimaya. Charm. Another Restore. We've got a green deck. Let's harmonise in here. Rain of Thorns. Oops. Vivid. 3-colour card, a Temple again. Cycling Lands. One has all of them. Nipple Palace. Panorama, Rupture Spire, Command Tower. So these all had Command Tower in them. and then our basics. Okay, so those were the 5 decks: Evasive Maneuvers, Eternal Bargain, Mind Seas, Power Hungry, and Nature of the Beast. So the one last thing that I want to mention before I sort of wrap up this episode is the holiday gift box. I can't really show you the contents anymore because this was long since broken up, but here's the box. This one's actually not held up too bad. There was a problem with the quality of these. This is, I'm using actually to keep a lot of my basic lands in it. So when you open these up originally, you basically, they were themed each year. So if you remember, there was one for the previous set for Return to Ravnica. So this time round in November 15th we get the Theros one. So it's got 4 boosters in it. It has a alternate art Karametra's Acolyte. There's 20 basic lands in here, 6 illustrated plastic dividers, and a load of sticker sheets. The main problem with these, as a lot of people found out, is the structure. The Ravnica one was really good. After that, until we got to the more recent ones, the quality of the box itself sort of went downhill, particularly the way the actual dividers that were part of the box, because there's like 2 parallel bits of cardboard going across here, and the way they were sort of held in got worse. So a lot of times you'd also find that these things, when they've been on the pallet, got crushed. And I actually had quite a hard time finding ones of these that weren't damaged in some way. This is one that I got hold of. So there we have the holidays gift box. So just to recap, today's episode we looked at Theros, came out September 27th, Commander 2013 November 1st, and the 2013 holiday gift box November the 15th. I'm going to be taking a break again with this particular series of stuff. So we're on series 4, episode 4. There is going to be a series 5, there is going to be a series 6, and that will be it. Because by then we will have reached the Khan's block, and so basically in between this series and the next series there will be a gap, and in that gap obviously I'm going to go through some unboxings. We're going to take a look at the Magic 25 stuff, and we're going to take a look at that Cold Snap deck, and I'm going to hopefully try and get another series off the ground to do with, basically it's to do with deck building, and specifically looking at Commander, and there's a tie into pre-cons, and hopefully that's where you'll see the whole Cold Snap deck sort of comes into play. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.